Hello guys, welcome back. So today we'll be exploring more about ReactJS. As we all know, why and what is ReactJS. So React ReactJS it is JavaScript library, free and open source, which is developed by Facebook. And React is more famous due to its component-based architecture, and it produces a declarative UI, and it is used as cross-platform development and also popularly known for its developing single page applications, and it uses virtual DOM to re-render the components and UI. Then, so some of the prerequisites to start with React.js are firstly HTML, then CSS, then JavaScript, and in JavaScript, you should be more familiar with ES6 features, which includes modules, classes, arrow functions, map filter, reduce, destructuring, rest operator, template literals, promises, async and await. So whenever we write an HTML code, in the browser it renders in the format of document object model, which is DOM, and so it is represented in the inverted tree format in the browser. See here we have a body tag and a hashtag. See, so head and body tag are siblings, and in the body tag we use different tags like h1, div, p paragraph tag, etc. So in order to create a simple React tab, we can create it using npm or npx create React tab, and additional on top of that, to build our make process easy and faster, we use Vite. See, so these are the differences between the normal create React tab using npm or npx, and setting up the same React project using Vite. So React in React, it is generally known for its JavaScript library for building UIs, and if we come to Vite, it is a modern build tool focused on speed. So normal create React tab will have lesser speed when compared to Vite. Fine. Then the setup. So React requires tools like create React app. Then Vite requires minimal setup with instant server start. See here we can find the difference when we start working on the project, and when it comes to performance, virtual DOM re-rendering takes longer build times in React. Then in Vite, faster faster builds with ES6 modules integration. So some of the ES6 modules are integrated in the Vite. So this re-rendering and starting of the server is speed when compared to normal React.js. Then ecosystem. So React contains vast libraries and tools available, and Vite it supports modern frameworks like including React, Vue.js, and other. So these are some of the React basics, which contains component component in React, folder structure, what is JSX, prop state, event handling. So these are some of the React basics which everyone should be familiar with. In our present video, we will be exploring up to what is JSX, and in next videos we will go through some states, props, event handling, etc. And some of the intermediate topics in React.js are hooks, which contains these are actually we there are nearly 26 to 27 28 hooks, but in general will be using more hooks like four more used hooks. These are like use state, use effect, use context, use red user. We'll explore each example for one of them. Then then the conditional rendering of a component and advanced JSX. Then in React we basically have two types of components. One is class based and a functional based. We'll explore about that also. Then we will know about what is React fragments and how do we handle forms and its corresponding validation, and how do we change or manipulate the DOM using use ref hook. And when it comes to React advanced topics, we'll be covering routing used in React. How do we navigate from one page to another page by clicking on links or a buttons, and also through URL. And then we will exploring about prototypes and typecasting and props types, etc. Then how do we optimize our application using memorization and code splitting, and what are the error boundaries which contains fallback hooks, fallback components, etc. Then how do we manage our state using Redux toolkit? Everything from beginner to advanced we will cover in our videos. So see, if we go to our index.html file, there we render the hello world text dynamically using some CDNs of React and React DOM. Then and that CDNs along with Babel CDN converts the React component into plain vanilla JavaScript, which then rendered on the browser. See here, in HTML generally we define an UL tag, then li, which contains two links or two list elements, namely home and about. And if you want to use the same tags using JavaScript, we need to declare them as let UI, then document dot create element. See here we can see the same create element we used in React, we used in our index.html file, right? Similar to that, if you then declaring a let and li1, and again the document dot create element with name li. Then we are adding home to the inner HTML, that is li.inner HTML, similar to that li2.inner HTML is about. Then in to the UL element we are appending these styles, which is L1, li1 and li2. Then these UL and li together are appended to the body as a child. So these functionality is only using React.js. And if you use only React, so similar that UI and LI elements here, let will be declaring and create element. The same similar method you can find in our previous video where we defined an index.html and use that CDN suite. The similar examples you can see in our previous video. And these UL and LI elements are rendered using a create route and selecting that route as element, and we will be rendering that using root.render UL. So here we can see that in normal HTML, then injecting that HTML through JSX, and using React will be more complicated. Like when we create element, it becomes quite complicated. So to compress all this work, we have JSX. See here we simply define let menu is equal to UL li HTML, then that HTML is rendered into the HTML div tag where ID is mentioned as root, and inside that root we are rendering this menu. See here we can see that JSX. JSX is nothing but JavaScript. This let menu is equal to and const root and react dom dot create root. This everything comes under JavaScript, and we are injecting HTML into it. So JSX, which stands for JavaScript plus HTML. Here we are doing similar to that, right? We are injecting HTML into JavaScript. So this is known as JSX. So let's see an example now. See, basically, you can see that npm create react app at the rate latest. Then in the current directory. Okay, so let me install first. See, if if this command don't doesn't work in your local machine, simply go to browser, then download Node.js. See, from here you can download this Node.js. Once this Node.js is installed in our local machine successfully, open the command prompt or terminal. You can check the node version using the command node hyphen hyphen version. And also node, when we download the Node.js, it additionally comes with an npm, which stands for Node Package Manager. You can check that even that version using npm hyphen hyphen version. See here, you can see that npm version is 10 and Node.js version is 20. And one more repository. So go to npm mjs. See, this is a library where you can import required packages, and using that packages you can build your applications and some security issues like security, more secure applications using JSON and JWT tokens, etc. So here we need React, right? So let me enter React, then search. Here you can see that it gives a brief description about what is React and how to install it. So first let me install this command. Go to VS Code again, then enter. While it installs, let me explain about more. So here you can see that using that React, we are creating a simple counter application, and at the same time we are rendering it in the UI. So basically, what this npm MJS is, it, it is a like a library where more professional developers write some packages and libraries where which you can import and use them in your local machine to build your projects and build a scalable web application, etc. It contains all the documentation. See here you can find the documentation, how to use and getting started, and how to import packages and modules, how to integrate them, then the npm CLI commands to install these packages, etc. So here we have installed our React package in our local machine successfully. Now let's create React app using the command npm create react hyphen app at the rate latest. Enter. Okay, so let me, instead of using npm, let me use npx. See here, npm stands for Node Package Manager. Npx stands for Node Package Execute. So create React app at the rate latest. Okay, it's saying to select the project directory. Let me re-enter the same command and enter the dot slash, which says that to create a project in the same current working directory. Okay, so cannot create a project. Okay, actually this is to install these packages. It is basically a case sensitive. So let me enter my app. See, now it's creating a package in my current location. See, let's see what is the difference between this npm or npf create react app and compare it with the wheat. See, as we all know, if we go to this thing here, we know that it takes, see, faster build with ES6 modules integration. Then we can start the server instantly. So it is more focused on speed, right? Let me demonstrate this. Let me open another terminal. Here we'll be building same IAP using wait. So npx. We need to execute this, not manage this. So npx create wait at the rate latest. Then in the same directory. Or else let me name this as my app 1. See, it's still getting installed. Let me see which takes faster time to complete. By that we can be knowing which takes faster time to execute and install that. See, as we all have seen, we took lesser time when compared to that npx create react app. So here let me select React as a framework. Then we'll be going with JavaScript. Now see, here it's still taking time to set up the basic React project. So we'll be using Vite instead of that normal create React app. So, and also it says that in order to start serving, then says to chain directory, cd stands for chain directory, and my app one enter. Then, and here we can see, in order to start using this project setup, we need to install first modules, node modules. This can be done using npm install or npm I. Let's wait for some time to download that node modules. Okay, it's done. Here you can see that node modules is installed. Now next command is npm run dev. Run dev. So here you can see that our application has started on the port 5173. Now if we open this in the browser, now here we can see that our project is has been set up successfully and started serving. And if I go to this first thing and same thing cd my app enter, then npm start. See, this npm command is taking long time when compared to wait, right? So as we have discussed here, so this wait is modern build tool more focused on speed. So instead of that React, normal npm or npx create React app, we are using Vite. So now we will going to be using Vite project only for our rest of the videos. Here you can see that it is serving on the port 3000. If I open this, here you can see that this is using npm create React app and this is using Vite. Okay, so let me stop this npm create React app wala. Then I'll delete this, close this terminal, and let me go into source folder. Then first let's delete this entire thing. App.jsx, then index.jss, delete. Then okay, so this is the main entry file of our application. Now if you open browser, we can see some errors saying that key no app was found, no app component was found. If you open the console, see here it says that the server responded with status 404, which is not found. That is app.jsx is not found. So let's define an app.jsx file here. App.jsx, and let me create a functional based component. Export default function, then app, and then return hello world. And if I get back to the browser again, reload. Okay, just a second. Okay, so let me remove this also. Now save this. Here you can see that same hello world text is being rendered from the app.jsx component. So if we understand about this, here in our previous video we have generated HTML dynamic content hello world through CDNs and Babel, right? Here same these all together. Here we can see that JavaScript is embedded with JSX, I mean HTML. So it is a component. So app is an component with JavaScript, JSX, which stands for JavaScript and HTML. HTML in the sense XML. So together it's known as JSX. So this component actually it is a functional based component. We'll explore more about class based component in our next video. So this component is exported into so this component is exported as default export and it is imported in the main.jsx file. Now using that main.jsx file we are rendering the data which is present inside the app.jsx file. So here we have defined a component with name app and it is returning hello world which is an HTML. So this HTML is rendered inside this app. And also if I want to render some other text like hello from main.jsx file. If I open the browser again, see here you can see that HTML, same HTML is rendered using the main.jsx file only. So instead of rendering this HTML file, HTML text, we are creating a component, and then inside that component we are returning an HTML. This HTML is rendered in this street mode tags, and this text is added dynamically to this document.getElement by id with a root with the name as root. So if we compare this with our previous index.html file, there we have seen that the hello world text is generated dynamically using CDNs of React and React DOM utilizing Babel CDN, right? And we are specifying there as document.getElement by id using root. See here we don't find any HTML, right? But we are injecting this app content data into root. So if we open here index.html file, so this is the HTML file which was similar to that in our previous video, and here we can see that same div tag which contains id as root, and here we have added a script where we are rendering app data using the type as module, then source as source slash main.js, which is nothing but the file location. See here source, then main.jsx. This content is rendered, whatever the content received from this location is rendered in this div div root element. So which is similar functionality to that of our previous index.html file. And if see here you can find that in previous video we have used Babel CDN which converts the user written JSX into normal vanilla JavaScript, right? Here you don't find anywhere the Babel CDN. So but how does it work then? If you know, let me know it in the comment section. So actually this CDN which is Babel which converts the human written JSX into plain JavaScript which is understood by the browser itself. So this Babel CDN is added in the node modules which converts our JSX and component and their data is present inside this node module. See here you can see that Babel. So in node modules, Babel is installed in order to convert the human written JSX into plain vanilla JavaScript. Fine. See even here we can see that these are some dev dependencies. These dev dependencies are nothing but which are used by developers during development. Then these are some dependencies to start our application and how what are the CDNs you should be used by our application. Like we have used React CDN, right? React CDN with version this and React DOM CDN with version this, and then so these are all the package.json file. So basically, whenever you download a project from Git repo or somewhere else, here in the package.json file, you can find everything regarding the commands to start and scripts like building and development, then preview, how can we preview and how to start the server. Everything is written in this package.json file, and then this public. Then public is nothing but where you can store the images, like some common images to be shared entire or browser, right? So that kind of images can be stored here. Let me delete this. So we'll be morely focusing on the source source inside the source, and we will be creating some components here. Then as I have explained how this flow works. So now let's get back to our app.jsx file and just close this thing. Let's render a simple counter application where if we enter a button to increment, it should increment from 0 to 1, and if we press on decrement, it should decrement from 1 to 0. Fine. So if you want to create that same button using HTML, how do we create that? Let me off this. Here we should first define a div, then inside that I'm adding a div tag, I mean paragraph tag, then 0. After that, then simply define a button with name as increment, and then decrement. So if I save this and go back to browser, here you can see that statically data as 0, then increment and decrement button. Now let's add functionality to this button. So if you press increment button, the state of the number should change from 0 to 1. So let me define a state, that is initial state, which is count, then set count. So here count is a variable, then set count is a function. Then use state. Here the initial state of a count is 0. Fine. Now if you are familiar with ES6 features of JavaScript, here you should use these curly braces is nothing but entering into the JavaScript mode. Remember it as JavaScript mode. Curly braces means we are entering it into the JavaScript mode. So we are defining JavaScript inside HTML. So here we need to define it as count. And if you save this, here you can see the same 0 is rendered, which is initial state of count. Now let me add a functionality where once a user clicks increment button, the state of a count variable should be increased by 1. So let me add an event here. So in JavaScript we use on change or on click or on submit, right? So similar to that, here in React we need to use camel case of that version. So on click, this is nothing but camel case. Then we are defining a function which should contain set count, and that count should be increased by 1. Then save. See here, if you press increment, it increments by 1. That is, so previously our count was 0. When a user press on this button, I have added an event listener saying that to the previous count add 1. Now similar to that, let me add a functional to decrement. On click, function, then set count decremented by 1. Save. See here now, if we reload the page again once more, if you press increment, it increments, then if we press decrement, it decrements. See, in this way, we are changing the static data to dynamic using event listeners. These are nothing but event listeners. We all know this from JavaScript. On click, on submit, on chain. These all are JavaScript events. But when it comes to React, we should use it in the format of camel case. So that's all for today, guys. Let's explore more in our next video regarding. So we have basically completed a component in React, then folder structure and what is JSX. In our next video, we will be covering about props, state, and some more event handling functions. Before ending this video, see one more thing. What if I want to render this component two times? See now here we are rendering the app component only once. What if I want to render the same component again? So if we follow the normal HTML, CSS and JavaScript code, so in order to render the same component, we need to write the code functionality again, right? So here that work is simplified by our React.js. See, simply define same component with same name again, then save. Now if you open our browser again, here you can see that same component is rendered two times, which is known as, see here, which is nothing but component based architecture. That is, we are using the same component number of times as per our requirement. If I want to use same component more than 2 to 3 times, just I need to import that component in the main.jsx file and render it inside the react dot react create root dot render method. So if I go back to browser, here you can see that we have rendered the same component multiple times. Once we have written the code only once, but we are rendering the same component multiple times. This is the functionality provided by React. Okay, that's all guys. If you like the video, hit like and share to your friends and give a comment about my video and my explanation if possible.